I'll make a handle for the rewind mechanism. It's going to look like this, or similar. I started off with a 5/16 square piece of maple, about 6.5 inches long, and made my own 3/4 inch dowel, and then cut that into 3 equal pieces. I only need a piece that's about this long. I need a little extra to mount into a 3-jaw chuck later on when I go to drill this out. I have a profile gauge that's similar to what I ended up with. Gone, and I've marked some little timing marks on here just to remind me where it is I want to cut the wood. I'm going to use this metal machining tool to gouge out some wood, and I'll go back with a couple of files and smooth it and then sand it. Every time I do these, they turn out a little bit different. That's what you get when you're freehanding something. But anyway, that's filed down pretty smooth. I still need to put a little radius on this end. I'll do that in a minute. The rest of this will be smooth with sandpaper. We're going to drill a 3/16 hole through the length of the handle. Using a milling tool, I'm going to counterbore the end of this handle to clear this head. So it'll recess that head a little bit when it's mounted to the rewind pulley. Sometimes when you get that in there, you can't get hold of it, so just use a magnet to pull it out. Just a little deeper. That's the one I just made, and the two I made previously. I only need 2 of them. As long as you're geared up to make these, you might as well make 1 or 2 extra. You never know if you're going to screw up a blank, or you might end up with a bad spot in a piece of wood, or you might drop it and break it. It's a lot easier to make an extra one now than to start all over again to make 1. We'll start off with a 1024 bolt that's 2.5 inches long. We're probably going to have to cut 2 threads off of that. I did. Put a washer under the nut. Give me a little bit of clearance for this wrench. I drilled a hole 9/64, which is a little bit small for a 1024 tap, but it works out well. We'll thread this into here. These are called ignition wrenches. They're fairly thin. When I screw that 1024 bolt in, you can see it's a little bit recessed on the hole here, and I tighten that nut. I think that'll work out just fine. And this is just threaded into oak. If for some reason that thread is a little bit loose, you can probably put a few drops of cyanoacrylate or super glue in there. It'll harden those threads, but I think that'll be just fine. This hole was originally drilled for 3/16, a little bit tight on this 1024 bolt. I re-drilled it number 11, and that's quite free in there now. We'll put our 1024 bolt in there and a washer. And when I put this together the final time, I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite on that thread, just to hold that so that turns freely. And it'll stay in position. This goes on here. I still have the cage to make, which traps this small pulley and allows it to slide back and forth. In operation, that pulley slides back and forth and allows the shaft that's attached to this pulley to engage and disengage from the music roll. And that's your clutch for your rewind mechanism. Right now I'm going to put this in here temporary using a drill bit. Put that on there. Give it a test spin. It's not too bad. This will be a little bit looser because the hole that this is in right now will be drilled out to clear the shaft that has the hex key on the end of it. There will actually be a shaft that goes through that pulley that has a hex key on it, and it's the hex key that engages with a socket that's on the music roll. When I get an opportunity to test this on the organ itself, I can determine then if this is still a bit too tight. If it is, I can loosen this groove up a little bit on the lathe. I prefer to keep that tight until I know for sure I don't want it to be too loose. And right now, that seems to be working okay. Could be a little freer, and I think it will be when this gets loosened up. After that's all tested, I can take it all apart and put some lacquer on it and then assemble it for the last time.